everybody, it's Emily from ARC Schooling, and it is time to pick my TBR. I don't know what's going to happen this month. I have so many things already that I need to read, but I'm like, I can still do something. I can still pick something. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to build my TBR, and then we'll chat about it. So if you are new, I created a ton of prompts based on books that I own. I have a super extensive library because I have zero self-control, and so I have a lot of books, and I'm like, how do I ensure that I read those books? I created prompts based on what I have to make myself pick things up off my own shelves before I read other things. So that's what we're going to choose right now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab 2 prompts, and then we'll see which one I want to read. Okay, I've got 1 and 2. Okay, so let's see which prompts I have pulled this month. Ooh, I have Indigenous authors or fantasy. I mean, if we're being honest, I need some fantasy right now. So I'm gonna be brave, and I'm gonna pick some fantasy from my shelves. I have a lot of things to choose from. I just feel like right now is a good time for this, though, because I just feel very bogged down by reality. So I would like to go somewhere else for a little while. So I'm gonna go ahead and see what I feel like reading, and I'll be back and we'll chat about it. So I'll see you guys in just a minute. Guys, I have selected a TBR, and it is a lot of things. So let's go ahead and chat. So first up, I want to talk about what we're reading for book club. So the ARC Book Club is going to be reading The Woman They Could Not Silence by Kate Moore this month, and I am really excited about this. I read Radium Girls. Well, I read it a few years ago, and I just sort of skimmed through it and read it very quickly. I'm reading it again now as I'm working on level 11, and I'm just like obsessed with this kind of story and the way that she writes. And so I'm really excited to read The Woman They Could Not Silence. So this is about how women were put in asylums and like the way they were treated just for having thoughts and for speaking up and for like not settling and being called hysterical and that sort of thing. So like this is a topic that I've always enjoyed like reading more about, and so I've been really wanting to read this for ages. So I'm so excited that we're going to be reading this together this month. So if you want to read along with me and Tanya, go ahead and grab a copy of the book and read it this month. We have a Discord where we can chat about our thoughts in real time as we're reading, and then we will have a live show discussion the first Saturday of the following month to talk about the book together, and you guys can participate in the discussion. So I'm very excited about that. We're like 6 weeks out from being done with our school year because we had to have so many weeks off at the beginning of the year for illness that we're not done. we can't stop like I would like to. I usually want to be done in June, but we have to go for another 6 weeks. So we have another read aloud coming up, and we picked Dry by Neil Shusterman and Jared Shusterman. I've read this twice, I think, 3 times? I don't even know at this point. I've read this multiple times. And this is a story about what happens when there is a really serious drought in California, and they call it the tap out, and what happens to this group of teenagers during that. And it's just a really fun, exciting story. It's apocalyptic, but like I would call this gentle apocalyptic as opposed to some more like scary and disturbing apocalypse books. And I also appreciate that this is just a one-off story. It has a conclusion. It wraps up by the end. I know not everybody loves that, but I appreciated that. So I'm looking forward to reading this again, this time with Regina. I grabbed this book at the library because it meets one of my challenges for the Build Your Library Reading Challenge. I needed an LGBTQ plus history book. I thought I had something on my shelves, but I couldn't decide on anything. So when I was at the library, I saw this and decided I would read that. And this is Lavender House by Lev A.C. Rosen. I've read one other book by this author. It was a middle grade, and I really, really liked it. I think it was called Memory Wall. And so I've been wanting to pick up something else that they've written. And I've heard really good things about Lavender House. This is a historical fiction. I'm not sure what time period though. When is this set? Oh, this is set in the 1950s. And I really don't know a lot about it. I don't know what it is specifically, but I've heard a lot of people recommend it. And I'm going to trust the recommendations, and I'm going to give this a shot. I have 2 books that I have started and not finished in the last few months, and it's really been bugging me, so I want to try to get to both of those. I have Bloody Fool for Love. This is a Spike prequel by William Ritter, and I did get a little ways in, but not very far. I'm like 75 pages into this book, and I like it a lot. I just cannot seem to pick it up. I keep forgetting that it's there, and so I'm gonna like make myself read this book. I think part of the problem is that I refuse to listen to the audiobook. Like, I don't want to hear a different voice. I want to hear Spike's voice. I want to hear Drusilla's voice. Like, this would be so good if like the original actors narrated it. Ugh, I would love that. But it's really good. Like, there's a moment in here that just like was so good. Like with Drusilla and Spike. I love Drusilla. So anyway, I really do need to finish this. So I'm going to try to make that happen. I started reading The Golem of Brooklyn by Adam Mansbach a few weeks ago, like a week ago. And I had to set it down because I needed to read the book for book club. And I'm going to try to pick this back up. This was weird. This is a weird book. I'm like, again, not that far in. I'm like 78 pages into this. And it's about this guy who is like a very secular, atheistic Jew. And he gets really high, steals a bunch of clay, and makes a golem. And it works. He does not know how he did it. He doesn't know why it's happening. The golem only speaks Yiddish. But also the thing I found the most interesting is that apparently, in this story anyway, the golem is always the same golem. So like every golem you've ever heard of in Jewish folklore is this golem. And he remembers all the things. And so, like, he's experienced all these events and moments in history, and he remembers them, and he's trying to understand, well, why am I here now? And so, it's very weird, and the writing style is very odd. Like, it's not what I would normally... I almost DNF'd it because of the writing style, but I was like, no, I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to give it a little bit more. And the more I read, the more it started to grow on me. So I'm hoping I can also finish this. So I just finished reading a book called 3 Summers, which is a middle grade memoir by Amra Shabik El Reyes, and I really enjoyed it. And I realized I had her other book on my shelf already. I already owned this. This is The Cat I Never Named, which is her memoir about her teen years. So 3 Summers is her memoir about her childhood growing up in Bosnia. And it focuses on the 3 summers leading up to the Bosnian War. So she's like 11, 12, and 13 in that book. And this one focuses on the war years when she's a teenager. And so I really, really want to read this now because, like, I've been wanting to read it for ages anyway. But now, knowing, like, what led up to, I really want to know what happens next. Like, she does share like some of the stuff that happens after, but like I need to read this. Like, I really want to pick this up, so I'm gonna try to make that happen. Sybils are coming soon, and I have bought a bunch of things or downloaded a bunch of arcs that I really need to read. And so I'm not going to talk about everything, but I will talk about these 2 books because these are like things I purchased that I'm like, you really need to read that. So I have A Meal and the After by Vera Hiranandani. This is a like companion book, I think, to The Night Diary. And we're following a different character. So it's like the 1948 and Emil and his family have had to start over in Bombay and rebuild their lives in an independent India. So this is sort of like what's happening immediately after what happened during The Night Diary. So I just really want to pick this up. I have a feeling I'm going to love that. And then I also have The Partition Project by Sadia Faruqi, which is about a girl in modern day learning about her grandmother's childhood during the partitioning of India and Pakistan. So these 2 feel like they go together, even though they're very different books. Like this is set during the partitioning and immediately after, and this is set in present day, and she's just learning about it for, I guess it's something to do with a project or something, but she's learning about her family history. That is the thing I love in books, is when like somebody is learning about their family's history. So I have a feeling I'm gonna love this. And then I have 2 more things before I get to what I picked for my actual TBR here. So I don't know if these are probably not gonna happen, but I've had both of them sitting in my TBR for a while now, and I really want to get to both of them. They're both about the Cultural Revolution in China. This one is called Forbidden City by Vanessa Hua. And this one is called Do Not Say We Have Nothing by Madeline Thien. And this one I think is YA. This one is adult. They're both Cultural Revolution books. That is a time period that I find fascinating, that I want to read more about. And both of them are potentially for things like, I don't know what I'm doing. I had originally thought this could go in level 11 while I'm working on the update, but looking at what I would have to rearrange or drop, I don't want to let go of any of the books that I'm currently using there. And every time I try to finagle it, something would have to go. So I don't think that's going to happen, but I might make a lip bite. I don't know yet. I need to read it and see what I think. And then I have another thing I want to do with this one I can't talk about, but like they both sound really good. And I've owned this one for a really long time, like obnoxiously long, and I should read it. So now let's talk about fantasy. I struggle with fantasy. I love the idea of fantasy. Like I love watching fantasy things. I have read some books that I consider my absolute favorite things that were fantasy, like Lord of the Rings, like Song of Ice and Fire, the Discworld series. Like those are some of my absolute favorite things, and they are fantasy. But I often struggle reading fantasy because I find it, one, kind of intimidating, but also like wrapping my head around a brand new world and trying to figure out like the world building can be really challenging. I much prefer fantasy that is set like in our world, either like going through a portal like the Wayward Children's books, or like historical fantasy like the Golem and the Jinni, where it's mostly historical but there are elements of fantasy. So I have a range of things here that I would like to try to make happen. So let's chat about it. I have The Night War by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. This is a real world with a little bit of fantasy. Like I think there's a little bit of magic in this book. And this is middle grade. Again, it's not going to be for my Sibbles category, but I feel like I might want to nominate this for speculative middle grade because this is one of my favorite middle grade authors. I've been really excited about her new book, and I've owned it now for over a month and I have not had a chance to read it. So I definitely need to make that happen. This one is from Sarah. She's been wanting me to read this for a while, and I said go ahead and stick it in my pile. We'll see what happens. And this is Full Metal Alchemist, volumes 1 through 3. I honestly don't know exactly how to describe this or what it is. Sarah has tried desperately hard to make me watch this, but like I just can't get into the anime. For whatever reason, it doesn't work for me. But I said maybe I'll read it because that might work better. I don't know. So this is like one of her favorite things. So she's been wanting me to read it. So I'm going to try to make this happen. And I hope that I like the story better in this format. Then I have these two books that are both a little bit more on the intimidating side of the scale. I have Deathless by Catherine M. Valente. I've been looking for this book. I knew I owned it. I've been trying to find it since January. It's been bothering me, and I finally found it. And it was sitting right in the open in my face, and I'm like, how am I this dumb? Whatever. I found it though. This is Russian folklore. It's about Koshchei. I'm not sure how you say it. We read The Witch and the Tsar earlier this year for book club, and that book wasn't great, but Koshchei was a character that I thought was really interesting, and this book is focused on him. And this is set during the Russian Revolution and into the 20th century, I think. So I'm really interested in reading this. This is a little bit less intimidating than my other book, but I feel like this could still be a challenge. But I'm definitely interested in reading another Russian folklore-based story. And then this one. This is a book that I have wanted to read for ages, and I've owned it for at least 5 years at this point, and I've never picked it up. And I've decided that this is a thing I'm going to make myself read sooner than later. And that is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. I've been wanting to read something else by this author. I read Half a War, I think it's called. Half a King? Half a something. Which is his YA trilogy. I read the first book in that, and I really liked it. And I was like, you know what? I think I could maybe do one of his other works. And this is like his big series, I guess, his big trilogy. So I don't really know what it's about, but it is a bit bigger. It's a little bit more intimidating. Yeah, this is like 500 pages, and it's grimdark fantasy, which is more in line with like The Song of Ice and Fire, which I did love. So I feel like I should like this. So that is the thing I'm going to try to do. Okay, so before I wrap this up, I'm going to pick my 12 recommendations from 12 friends. I have now read 4.5 books. I've had my first DNF, which was disappointing, but I'm hoping to pick another one that I will really enjoy this month. I'm going to choose 2 things, and we'll see which one I want to read. Ooh, I got Queen Hereafter. This is a Lady Macbeth book, and I've been really wanting to read this. So I have the ebook, so I'm going to read that. And I'm really excited about it. I don't really know a whole lot besides that it is a Lady Macbeth story. I love Macbeth. It's one of my favorite Shakespeare plays, so I'm hoping that this is really good. Okay, so my God, do I want to try to pick this up? I have made myself the most obnoxiously big TBR, and I am slightly overwhelmed. What do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's 14 books, which, to be fair, it's a very heavy, is like my average. So I could probably do it. So we'll see. I'm hoping that this is a much better reading month than last month, where I just like did not enjoy the bulk of what I read. So I'm hoping that this is like a much better reading month. So I hope you also have a great reading month. Let me know in the comments which books you are excited to read in June. Anyway, oh my God, this is like such a heavy stack. So I'm gonna not do that again. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Happy reading. Bye.